The EB-1A visa is an immigrant visa for individuals with extraordinary ability in the arts, science, business, athletics, or in education. And if successful in applying, you qualify for a U.S. green card, as does your spouse and any unmarried children under the age of 21. They may also obtain a green card through your EB-1A approval. Additionally, I'd like to note that EB-1A visa is a self-petition, meaning it does not require a job offer or a labor certification. To qualify for the EB-1A, a petitioner must demonstrate that they have extraordinary ability and that they will continue to work in the field in which they have extraordinary ability while they're in the U.S. So defining extraordinary ability, that means that you have a level of expertise indicating that the individual is one of that small percentage who have risen to the very top of the field of their endeavor. So put in simple terms, this visa is for individuals at the very top of their field. And this can be demonstrated through two different avenues. You can either show a one-time major international award or fulfill at least 3 of the 10 criteria stipulated in the codified regulations. So to start, let's talk about the one-time international award. Examples of these are Nobel Prize, a Pulitzer, or a similar internationally recognized award for an extraordinary accomplishment. And if you choose to go the 3 of the 10 criteria route, it's important to remember that meeting only 3 of the 10 criteria alone is insufficient if those factors do not show support for extraordinary ability. So when USCIS evaluates the evidence you present, they'll look at the totality of the evidence. They'll put it all together and decide whether it reflects extraordinary ability. So here on the slide are a list of the 10 criteria that you can use to qualify. We'll be going over these a little bit more in detail. So criteria 1 is an awards criteria. A petitioner may present evidence of receipt of lesser nationally or internationally recognized prizes or awards for excellence. If you don't have a major internationally recognized award, such as the Nobel Prize or a Pulitzer, this is where you can provide evidence of other awards that can also support a finding of extraordinary ability. These awards must be nationally or internationally recognized. They should be issued by respected organizations with stringent and selective processes. They must align with the field of your endeavor, and they must be awarded for excellence. Typically, awards limited to local, student level, or academic scholarships don't qualify.
You can even add corporation awards to that. Things that are just typically within the corporation itself instead of industry-wide. The USCIS is increasingly less excited about those awards. They're requiring a higher level of industry, clear industry impact.
Yeah. And I also want to note there was a fairly recent update where they're accepting team awards as well, but each member must be officially recognized within that award. So if you're working on a team and you've received an award, that may be evidence for criteria number 1.
Amazing.
All right. The second criteria is regarding memberships. So a petitioner may present evidence of membership in associations requiring outstanding achievements in the field for which classification is sought. So to break this down, for a membership to qualify, the membership must be with an organization or association that requires exceptional achievements from its members, and the membership eligibility must be judged by nationally or internationally recognized experts. Any documentation showing active involvement with an organization at the time of membership is very persuasive for an EB-1A application. Additionally, evidence of specific selection criteria is necessary to show how prestigious the membership would be. Past memberships can qualify. However, more up-to-date memberships are very persuasive, and it must be connected to your field. The memberships cannot be solely based on payment or general qualifications. So it needs to show that you do have some extraordinary ability to be able to qualify for the particular memberships you present.
Exactly.
In criteria 3. So this one's regarding publications about the petitioner. So a petitioner may present evidence of published material about the petitioner in professional or major trade publications or other major media. So there's a little bit of criteria here. The publication must be printed or published in professional or major trade publication in an established media source with high circulation and ranking in the country. It must contain content primarily focused on the petitioner and their work. Also, the publication must contain the date, the title, the author's name, and it can be in any media form. It could be printed, it could be video, or it could be audio, which opens the door for more avenues for you to present evidence. And I want to note that the most impactful publication evidence will discuss the industry impact and highlight individual contributions to the field. This will be very strong evidence for your case. Moving on to criteria 4. This is participation as a judge. So a petitioner may submit evidence of the petitioner's participation as a judge of the work of others in the same or allied field for which the classification is sought, either individually or on a panel. When judging another's work, you must show an invitation to judge another's work and participation in the judging of the work. And it must be the same or allied field. So some examples include reviewing academic papers, serving on panels, evaluating grants, judging competitions, or other like judging situations. Some evidence for this criteria include if you received official invitations or emails or letters confirming selection and proof of achievements that led you to being selected.
Right.
And evidence of participation can include some redacted forms of reviews, acknowledgement letters or certificates, and participation letters. The criteria.
The judging is really a great way to distinguish yourself if you are looking to become an EB-1A petitioner. I really think that right now the USCIS is finding a lot of value if we can find the appropriate evidence to show that you did meet the judging criteria. They really want to, as Alex mentioned, see that you are working within your field, see that you are really, it's even better if you're working within your niche area. So if you are a neuroscientist and you are working, evaluating neuroscience journals, like they're kind of in your area, that is very valuable to the USCIS, very compelling evidence. So you'll notice that in EB2, sometimes evidence can be that you have peer reviewed for scholarship journals. Sometimes it can be compelling evidence for both criteria, and what you find yourself in this situation where you have to evaluate the totality of your evidence and your circumstances to then decide whether you should apply for the EB1 or the EB2. So the judging framework is in my opinion, is one of the more compelling areas if you're looking to improve or enhance your portfolio. Getting involved in this capacity could be something that really elevates your application or petition to the next level.
Yeah, I second that, and it's all great advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do want to note that when judging for criteria 4, if you're paying to review others' works or you're judging work that's
Great
just
advice.
completely outside of your field, that's not evidence that will strongly support a finding of extraordinary ability.
Absolutely.
So you want to be a judge on the merits.
Yes.
All right. That takes us to our next criteria, criteria 5. This one's original contributions, so it's a bit more open-ended. A petitioner may present evidence of a petitioner's original scientific, scholarly, artistic, athletic, or business-related contributions of major significance in the field. For this criteria, the work must be unique, innovative, original, and it must be of major significance in the field for which the classification is sought. So I want to provide a couple examples of this. So if you're a scientist or researcher, you could use peer-reviewed publications and citations to demonstrate your contributions. This also works for other criteria as well. Artists and performers may present media coverage, exhibition records, or industry awards. Business leaders, they can provide evidence of leading a company to groundbreaking achievements, creating significant industry innovations, or being featured in major business publications. This is not an exclusive list. There are plenty of ways to show original contributions to the field. And this is kind of a catch-all for the criteria. It's where you can really show, all the contributions you've made that may not fit into the neat categories of the other 9 criteria. That takes us to criteria 6, which is authorship of scholarly articles. So authorship of scholarly articles in professional or major trade publications or in other major media in the field. Evidence for this includes peer-reviewed or cited works in reputable journals or major trade publications. The articles themselves should be scholarly in nature and demonstrate ongoing influence. The best way to demonstrate influence is through citations and usage of the findings from that article.
Yeah, especially if you can prove that other scientists that you do not directly collaborate with are citing to your work. The USCIS finds it more compelling to have those independent citations, is what we call them, and to make sure that it's even better if leading scientists in your field are choosing to cite to your work and incorporating your findings into their platform. That would be compelling evidence for this criteria. Demonstrating that ongoing influence that's beyond yourself, beyond your employer, is huge for them. You could also kind of tap into the basis of the funding for your research. Are you part of like a broader, federal funding kind of situation? We could potentially leverage that to also demonstrate that influence in the field if it's part of a larger program that is, federally funded.
Yeah. So kind of piggybacking off of what Chelsea said, the more citations, the better. More articles is better, but they really do look to that influence. So citations are just an easy way to demonstrate some influence. Also, if the article is circulated internationally or at least nationally, those are more persuasive as well. Which takes us to criteria 7. So this is works displayed at exhibitions. This is typically useful for artists who have publicly displayed their works. So the work must be of the petitioner's own creation. It must also be the petitioner's primary work, and the venue must be an artistic exhibition or showcase. That one's
I think that's one thing that's really interesting to me about the EB-1A, Alex, is that in comparison to the EB-2, the EB-1A is actually has opportunities for artists. It has opportunities for athletics. It has opportunities for scientists, people making breaking research in their field or contributions to their field as a whole, which I think is really unique. If you can meet that criteria, this is definitely a unique factor for the EB-1 compared to the EB-2. And we won't, spend a lot of time talking about the EB-2, but a lot of people come with questions about both at the same time. So the EB-2 is a little bit more limited and a little bit more restrictive in that sense, that they tend to have a pretty distinct preference for STEM related fields, especially, kind of like the healthcare, public health issues. Those issues tend to be very favorable right now. So, and that doesn't pigeonhole you, but I'm just saying that the EB-1A to me is very neat because, and you'll see kind of peppered throughout the 10 criteria, is that there's opportunities to meet it based on your field. So this criteria 7 is something that kind of circles back and loops in artists because they probably don't have publications, right? But being honored in an like something like this exhibit would be a demonstration of highly influential progress in your field or innovative progress in your field. Similarly, you probably don't have publications as a star athlete, but maybe if you represented in the Olympics or on a world platform, like maybe that would be compelling. If you achieved a podium award or some kind of innovative like EPSI award or just whatever it is in your field that could be leveraged, then I think that's neat for the 10 factors. That's something that allows you to kind of find your niche and navigate this journey for yourself. And the fact that you only have to have 3 of the 10, compared to the EB-2 where you have to have, there's only 6 factors and you have to have the 3 of the 6 factors. So just distinguishing for us a little bit here, how the 10 criteria, it gives some flexibility based on your industry, because in the EB-1, there is a bit more express flexibility for your industry.
Yeah, that is one thing that's nice about the EB-1A is it does allow for a lot more flexibility, whereas NIW, they really do look to, a couple of industries that they want to focus on. So it is a great opportunity.
Sure. It's still a higher standard, and we can talk at the end. There is a little bit of peppering of the expectation into the EB-2 as well, but the EB-1 still is a distinguished criteria from the EB-2. We're just kind of drawing a little bit of comparison for you along the way here.
Yeah. All right. And moving on to criteria 8. So this one's assuming a leading or critical role in an organization or establishment with a distinguished reputation. So to play a leading role means being involved in leadership with either organization or the division. A crucial role would mean contributing significantly to key outcomes that are critical for the organization or establishment. And I do want to note that the organization should have a distinguished reputation. Also, evidence for this criterion will generally come through letters or other verifying materials, and it should describe the leading or critical role and should be paired with evidence of the organization's reputation, and that should paint a nice picture to successfully meet this criteria. So criteria 9 is high salary or remuneration. So commanding or holding a high salary for services relative to others in the field. The evidence should show that the salary of the petitioner falls within the top region of the top 2 to 5% in the region where the petitioner works. Base salary is considered as evidence. Bonuses can also qualify as part of this evidence, but only if you have an actual receipt of the bonus and they are included in the total wages section on your tax return. I think it's important to note that benefits are not included as supporting evidence for this criterion. So that would include items such as tuition reimbursement, healthcare, medical allotments, and profit sharing incentives, and items like that. What they want to see is like hard documentable evidence. So tax returns are a good place to show that, pay stubs as well. And moving on to the last of the 10 criteria, commercial success in the performing arts. You'll typically see this with singers, performing artists, musicians, actors, individuals in those types of fields. So evidence of this can include sales, box office success, or other comparable measures. And what we really want is the petitioner to be closely tied to the commercial success. So let's say you're in a film and you're playing a leading role. Well, I think it would be pretty closely tied to the success of that film. Whereas if you were just like a background extra, there's not really a way to show that, you made the movie successful.
Correct. Yeah.
And
if you were invited to work at, present your film at like the Sundance Festival that happens each year, or some of these more exclusive, honorary, even if it's small film awards, if you're working on a documentary that's like bringing in some new insight or creative input into the field, and you get invited to some of these more exclusive film festivals or awards opportunities, and you're performing like a central role to the film production, you can't just like have your name in the credits. You need to be like a producer, a director, or a leading cast member or something along those roles, and then you want that role to really fit into your exceptional ability. So if you're an actor but you are a scientist, like that, you can see the contrast isn't really that exciting for the USCIS because they're not going to find a close enough connection. But maybe you're performing in a scientific-based movie, so then maybe there is an option to come back in with that exceptional ability or extraordinary ability. So just keep in mind that there always should be a connection to your central skills, to your extraordinary abilities as a professional, and to your future plans of working in the United States. So if you want to work as some kind of distinguished engineer or researcher of some kind, then keep that in mind as you are collecting your evidence or evaluating your case, because everything should come back to that very extraordinary skill set. And that would be the evaluation process that the USCIS follows as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do want to reiterate that, the minimum requirement is fulfilling 3 of the 10 criteria. But regardless of the amount of criteria you meet, it must add up to a showing of extraordinary ability, meaning that you're at the top of your field.
Exactly.
Some people will apply, they're like, hey, I meet these criteria, but it doesn't quite get them to extraordinary ability. So just be mindful of that.
And one thing that our law firm offers, if you are looking for confirmation of your, of your portfolio, is we offer free evaluations on our webpage. You can go to our webpage. You can click on free evaluation. We offer EB-2 and EB-1 evaluations. Our team will, you'll put in certain information, provide your resume. Our team will evaluate that and give you some feedback. We also use those for prospective clients to determine if we could, issue a retainer agreement, if that's how that, if that's how that naturally progresses. That is a tool that we use often. We find that it's very helpful for the community as well. So we invite you to take a look at that evaluation, take a look at our resources. We do provide a lot of information in the Q&A section as well. So that could be a helpful source of information for anyone wanting to learn more. Just so, it's something that people often come to me and they say, hey, can I file EB-1 and EB-2 at the same time? And the answer is yes, you actually can. Can you, if you say like, hey, right now you don't really meet the EB-1 criteria, but you definitely have a strong EB-2 case, you can definitely use your, you can go ahead and file for the EB-2 case. And then as your credentials improve, or you continue to do things in your field that distinguish you further and further to that extraordinary ability criteria, you can then use your priority date from your EB-2 for your EB-1 if you later get that approved. So there's a lot of advantage and flexibility between the two applications. If that's something that you want to discuss more, we can certainly, you can reach out to our team. We're happy to help the best we can. But today we just wanted to really introduce the EB-1A. We've talked a lot about the EB-2 recently. So we wanted to introduce the EB-1 and give some baseline information about that. We do see that people, prospective clients or clients come to us and they say, hey, like I was issued an RFE for my EB-2 and it really reads like an EB-1 to me. And the answer is it might a little bit. And the reason is because the USCIS is redefining that evidentiary standard for the EB-2. We had, we saw a large influx of petitioners, so naturally they are able to be more selective, and it's a bit necessary to be more selective with so many larger pool of applicants. So we're seeing a little bit of that language kind of bleeding over into the EB-2. So that's causing people to naturally become more confused about the EB-1 versus the EB-2. And with that in mind, I do always recommend to consult with an immigration attorney if you plan on making any kind of plans for yourself. I think that especially in the changing landscape, we're at a time where things are changing rapidly. So it is great to consult with an immigration attorney and to get some individualized advice, because what we're doing today is for educational purposes. We're really just trying to teach and explain and give you some basic understanding. Anything case specific, we would, highly encourage you to get individualized help for that. And so with that, if there's any questions or any further remarks from Alex, we can certainly, finish her conclusions and then we can take some questions before we wrap up.
Yeah, that concludes my presentation. There's the 10 criteria. I recommend you guys go just Google EB-1A criteria and pull up that list. It'll be a nice reminder of the different items you can use to qualify. And you can kind of gauge and see where you would fall. As Chelsea said, we have forms on our website you can use as well.